I was standing behind the pantry door when my daughter said my name. Not softly, not kindly, practically. As long as Mom doesn't linger. The word linger hung in the air like a smell you can't ignore. I didn't move. I didn't breathe. Because when people think you're already half gone, they say things they've been rehearsing for a long time. They thought I was asleep. That's what my son had said earlier, guiding me gently to the guest room like you would guide a child. Just rest, Mom. You've had a long day. I had smiled. I had nodded. I had waited. I've learned something in my 78 years. Patience is not weakness. It's camouflage. The pantry door was slightly open, just enough. I could see their shoes, hear the clink of glasses, smell the coffee I had brewed myself an hour earlier. My kitchen, my table, my life, and now, my funeral. We should keep it simple, my daughter said. No big service, she wouldn't want that. She never asked me. She won't know the difference, my son replied. Honestly, it's better this way. Better for whom? My daughter laughed quietly. Okay, but the house. Let's be clear about that. We agreed it goes to me. I've already talked to a realtor. A realtor. Before I was even dead. My knees trembled. Not from fear. From the sudden, brutal clarity. They weren't waiting for my death. They were planning around it. Mom's savings should cover most of the expenses, my son-in-law added. After that, whatever's left, we split. Fair is fair. Fair. I pressed my hand against the shelf to steady myself. My heart wasn't racing. It was slowing. The way it does when something inside you goes quiet. They spoke about flowers, about music, about who would speak. They argued briefly about whether my sister should be invited. She always causes drama, my daughter said, and Mom won't care. I bit the inside of my cheek. I tasted blood. That was the moment I understood something terrifying. It had already buried me. All that was left was paperwork. I stepped back silently, every movement careful. The floorboard near the sink creaks. I avoided it. I had memorized this house with my body long before my mind needed reminding. I returned to the guest room and lay down. When my daughter came in 10 minutes later, she smiled. Did you sleep well, Mom? I smiled back. Like a baby, I said. That night, alone in the dark, I replayed every word. Not with anger, with precision. Who said what? Who assumed what? Who took what for granted? Because once you hear people rehearse your death, you stop fearing it, and you start planning what comes after. The next morning, I burned the toast. On purpose. I let it smoke. I let the smell fill the kitchen until my daughter rushed in, waving her hand. Mom, that's dangerous, she said gently. The way you speak to someone you're already rewriting. Oh? I blinked. Is it? She smiled at my son. The look passed between them so quickly they thought I missed it. I didn't. I asked the same question twice. What day was it? Who was coming over later? They answered patiently, proudly. This was the version of me they needed. Maybe it's time we talk about arrangements, my son said, lowering his voice as if compassion lived there. Arrangements? I asked. Just planning ahead, my daughter said, so you don't have to worry. I nodded. Inside, I counted. That afternoon, I wandered into the study. My study. The drawer stuck slightly on the left, always had. Inside, my documents were gone. Not misplaced. Gone. I didn't react. I asked for tea. I asked about the children. I asked nothing that mattered. Later, when I was alone, I called Margaret. We hadn't spoken in years. She was my husband's cousin. Sharp, careful, a woman who never forgot a favor or a slight. They're planning my funeral, I said. She was silent for a long moment. Are they now? She replied. Then it's worse than I thought. She came the next day, unannounced. That unsettled them. I was in the neighborhood, she said pleasantly. Thought I'd check on her. She looked at me closely. Then she smiled. "She's still here," she said. Margaret noticed everything. The missing folders, the realtor's card tucked carelessly into a book, the bank statement addressed to my daughter. "They've been busy," she murmured. That night, I wrote my own list, not of possessions, of people who loved me, who used me, who spoke of me as if I were already gone. Because forgetting is dangerous, but being forgotten, that can be turned into a weapon. It turns out rehearsals don't start when the curtain rises. They start in whispers. Margaret stayed the night. I said I was afraid to be alone. That was true, just not for the reason they thought. After midnight, I heard my son's voice drift down the hallway, low, confident. "She doesn't remember much anymore," he said. "It's been months. Months." I stared at the ceiling. Months ago, I had balanced my checkbook to the cent. Months ago, I had helped my granddaughter with her college applications. But months ago was convenient. My daughter replied softly, "We need to be careful." Margaret watches too closely. Margaret, in the chair beside my bed, opened one eye. I smiled in the dark. The next day, I asked my son to help me find my wedding album. "I think it's in the attic," I said, letting my voice trail off. He hesitated. "It's dusty up there," he said. "I'll get it later." He never did. Because the attic was where they had stored my past, and my past didn't match their story. Margaret found the first receipt in the trash, a floral deposit, dated 6 weeks earlier. I traced the numbers with my finger. "So," I said, "that's when I started dying." That afternoon, my daughter's phone rang while she was in the shower. I didn't mean to listen, but when people assume you can't hear, they don't lower their voices enough. "Yes," she said. "We're just waiting. The house should be easy to sell. She won't notice." I folded the laundry slowly, carefully. I have folded my rage the same way all my life. That evening, Margaret and I made tea. "We should move you," she said, quietly. "No," I replied, "not yet." She raised an eyebrow. "They've practiced the ending," I said. "I want to see the whole play." So I leaned into the role. I misplaced my glasses. I asked my grandson his name twice. I laughed at stories I'd heard before. They relaxed. They always do. Because the most dangerous moment is when someone thinks the danger has passed. They chose a Sunday. Of course they did. Sundays look gentle on calendars. I heard it from the hallway this time. No hiding, no pantry door. They were careless now. "She won't last the winter," my son said. The doctor basically confirmed it. Which doctor? I wondered. The one who examined me, or the one who examined their fear? "We should be ready," my daughter replied. "The service, the house, everything. I've already spoken to the neighbors." The neighbors. I imagined them nodding sympathetically while watering their lawns. "She was such a sweet woman," they would say. Was. Margaret squeezed my hand as we listened. "She's not sick," she whispered. "I know," I said. That was the worst part. They knew it too. The date was circled on a planner. I saw it later, left open on the kitchen counter. A neat square. 3 weeks away. They had given me an expiration date. That night, I lay awake and planned something else. Not revenge. A correction. Margaret made the calls. Quiet ones. To a lawyer who still owed her a favor. To a doctor who believed in examinations, not assumptions. To a notary who didn't mind weekends. Meanwhile, I smiled. I forgot. I drifted. The morning my daughter asked if I wanted to be cremated, I nearly laughed. "I don't mind," I said. "Whatever's easiest." She relaxed visibly. Ease matters to people who are already tired of waiting. But when you rehearse someone's death too early, you forget they're still alive. The trap wasn't loud. It never is. It looks like convenience. Margaret said we needed one afternoon. Just one. A meeting to organize things, as my daughter put it when she sent the group message. "I'll bring the papers," she added. "So we're all on the same page." On the same page. I smiled at my phone. They gathered around my dining table, the same one where I used to help with homework, where birthdays had candles and crumbs and noise. Now it held folders, stacks, confidence. "We just want to make sure everything's smooth," my son said, sliding a document toward me. "In case of emergencies." "In case," I repeated, letting the word wobble. Margaret poured tea. The lawyer arrived late, on purpose. He introduced himself politely, shook hands, and sat beside me. No one asked why I had a lawyer. That was the first mistake. They explained the document, slowly, loudly, as if clarity only existed at a higher volume. "It just authorizes us to help," my daughter said. "Nothing changes." "Nothing," I echoed. The lawyer watched their faces. I signed where they told me to. So did they. Everywhere they were supposed to. They didn't read the appendix. They never do. When it was over, my daughter hugged me, too tight. "Now you don't have to worry," she said. I patted her arm. "I don't," I replied. The lawyer cleared his throat. "Thank you," he said. "This will make the transition precise." They smiled. They thought transition meant me. After they left, Margaret laughed softly. "They didn't notice," she said. "No," I agreed. "They never notice endings until they're in them." That night, I slept deeply. Because for the first time since the pantry door, I knew exactly how this would end. It began with a phone call they didn't expect. My daughter answered it on speaker, confident, distracted. "Yes," she said. "This is her daughter." A pause. Her smile tightened. "No, that won't be necessary," she replied. "We already handled." Another pause. Longer this time. She looked at me. Really looked. After she hung up, the house felt different. Like a stage after the lights have shifted. "Who was that?" my son asked. She hesitated. "The bank." Margaret stirred her tea slowly. The calls kept coming. Not angry, not accusatory. Curious. Requests for clarification. Requests for confirmation. Requests they couldn't answer without me. By Wednesday, the realtor stopped returning messages. By Thursday, the florist refunded the deposit. By Friday, my daughter's voice shook when she spoke to me. "Mom," she said carefully, "do you remember signing those papers last week?" "I remember tea," I replied, "and sunshine." She swallowed. The lawyer visited again, this time unannounced. He placed a folder on the table. "Effective immediately," he said. "All major decisions require the grantor's direct consent. Recorded, verified." My son frowned. "That's not what we agreed to." "It's what you signed," the lawyer replied calmly. Silence spread like a spill. They began whispering again, but now they whispered in corners. They checked locks twice. They reread emails. They stopped mentioning dates. Fear makes people clumsy. That night, I overheard my daughter crying. "We moved too fast," she said. "She's not gone yet." Not gone yet. I lay in bed, eyes open, heart steady. The next morning, I dressed carefully. Pearl earrings, lipstick I hadn't worn in years. Margaret raised an eyebrow. "Feeling better?" she asked. "I'm attending my own rehearsal," I said. Because once the script slips, the actors forget their lines. They tried to control the story. That's what people do when they feel it slipping. My daughter posted a photo online. Me in the garden. A soft caption. "Grateful for family time." Comments poured in. "She looks so well. You're such a devoted daughter. Cherish every moment." I watched it happen from the other side of the table. They were building a narrative. They didn't know the audience had already changed. The bank requested an in-person confirmation. So did the medical board. So did the legal office. Individually, these requests meant nothing. Together, they meant everything. The meeting was scheduled for Friday afternoon. Neutral location, neutral faces. My son insisted on coming. I should be there, he said, for support. I nodded. Support is a flexible word. They expected me to sit quietly, to look frail, to forget dates. Instead, I spoke clearly, answered precisely, corrected mistakes without raising my voice. The ring adjusted around me. The doctor cleared his throat. "There is no current medical basis for diminished capacity," he said. My daughter's pen stopped. The lawyer asked one final question. Do you understand the documents you signed? Yes, I said. Did you intend the outcome currently in motion? Yes, I repeated. He nodded. That was enough. Outside, my son exploded. You embarrassed us, he hissed. I looked at him. The boy I taught to tie his shoes. I corrected you, I said. There's a difference. That evening, Margaret poured wine. Do you know what you just did? She asked. I made myself visible, I replied. She smiled. They hate that. The flowers were delivered on a Saturday. White. Simple. Refunded once. Reordered quietly. They thought I didn't notice. I did. They had stopped talking about dates. Stopped using the word when. Now they said eventually. That's what happens when certainty dies first. I called the family together. All of them. In my living room, my house. They arrived tense, polite, afraid of saying the wrong thing. Good. I heard you rehearsing my death, I said calmly. No accusation, no drama, just truth. My daughter went pale. My son stared at the floor. I won't take revenge, I continued. I will take responsibility. I slid the envelope across the table. New documents, clear, public. I had already filed them. The house would not go to them. My savings would not be divided. My story would not be told by people who practiced my absence. I am still alive, I said. That should have been enough. No one argued. Later, alone, I packed away the pearls. I turned off the lights. I slept deeply, not because I was done, but because I had finally stopped being rehearsed out of my own life.